The TOC TN Analyzer is an invaluable tool in the biogeochemistry lab. It is capable of analyzing dozens of samples for both total organic carbon and total nitrogen, requiring little sample preparation. In this guide, we will explore how to use and maintain this instrument, as well as learn how to prepare aqueous samples. To prepare samples for analysis, first consider the approximate nutrient or analyte concentration in your sample. The maximum concentration for the analyzer is 50 milligrams per liter of total organic carbon and 10 milligrams per liter for total nitrogen. If you are sampling from highly organic soils or eutrophic systems, for example, highly polluted lake water, you may need to conduct a 10 or 20 times dilution to ensure the samples fall below the limits of the machine. Failure to do so results in complications to the whole analysis and may delay other scientists attempting to use this instrument. Dilutions of more than 40 times may reduce the precision and accuracy of your results. So implement carefully. To ensure your samples are properly represented in your analysis, shake or turn multiple times to keep the solution homogeneous. Make sure your pipette is properly calibrated and sample vertically. When diluting the solution, do not use DDI water. Instead, use TOC sample wash, a solution of DDI mixed with sulfuric acid. If analyzing saltwater samples, attempt dilutions unless you risk passing under the practical quality limit or practical analyte concentration correctly measured by the machine. Multiple saltwater samples can cause salt buildup inside the TOC TN, requiring parts replacements and delaying the analysis. Once you've prepared your samples, the next step is to pour your quality assurance quality controls, or QA/QCs. These are a requirement of most instrument analyses, used to ensure accuracy and precision. These include practical quality limits, or PQLs, continuing calibration check standards, or CCCS, continuing calibration blanks, CCBs, replicates and spikes, as well as quality controls for both nitrogen and carbon, named QCN and QCC. Also required for the TOC TN are rinses before and after the QA/QCs. Many of these controls must be conducted every 20 samples and at the beginning of the analysis. Keep this in mind as you only have approximately 60 spaces on the instrument. To keep track of QA/QCs and plan your sample run, keep a tray map of your samples. These will be provided by the lab manager. Once your samples and standards are prepared, you are ready to use the analyzer. For your first few runs, ensure that a lab manager or lab tech is present when you start using the machine. Sophia, the current lab manager, will discuss the steps of setting up the TOC TN.
So there's 3 things you need to check before you start running this instrument. The first thing is our humidifier in here. The water level needs to be between these 2 lines. So once this gets, maybe a third of the way up from the bottom line, that's probably about a good time to refill it with DDI. The second thing is our DDI water reservoir. This is used during the washing process of the instrument. So this needs to be topped off and full. And the final thing is the waste container underneath here. We just want to make sure that it's not full or sort of about to be full. And once you've checked those 2 things, you can turn on the gas and we can turn on the instrument. So you can come over to the computer here and open our TOC sample table editor. There isn't a username, you just push OK, and then this is the screen that pops up. To connect the instrument, you have to have a sample table up. So you want to make sure you're on the sample table tab here. You just click New and you click OK. And there's your sample table. So at this point we can connect the instrument simply by pushing connect here. The instrument obviously has to be on for you to connect it. It goes through a few tests, sort of internal tests, and then it will, and once that's complete, the ovens will turn on and the furnace will start heating up automatically.
A couple quick tips. In the upper right-hand corner of the computer screen, you'll be able to determine the status of the instrument, whether it's disconnected from the computer, not ready to run, or running. You can also determine the condition of the instrument by looking at its middle section, as seen here. As we wait for the instrument to warm up for a sample analysis, you can input your sample names into a TOC TN spreadsheet, as Sophia will demonstrate now.
Once you've loaded up your tray, to insert samples, you just right-click over here in this number column where you want to insert your samples. So you right-click and insert multiple samples. You're going to choose a method, and you have three options: MPOC, which is just carbon, TN, which is just nitrogen, or the combined carbon and nitrogen. So if you want both carbon and nitrogen, that's the one you click. So click open, and then click next. And so number of samples, how many samples do you have in here? 63. But we're simping the rinse 3 times, so I'm actually just going to insert that one first. So number of samples 3. The reason is because they're all going to be in file number 1. So then I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to insert the rest of them. Insert multiple samples, choose my method. So now we've got 62 samples because I've already done the one, and then I'm going to do my start vial as vial number 2. Finished. So now, we have rinse in 1, 1, 1, and then the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. So that looks good. And then you're going to come over here and label each row with your sample IDs. What's important is that everything needs its own name. So you don't want just everything, all the rinses called rinse. You want to number them rinse 1, 2, and 3. This will be important when we start doing the data analysis phase. So you'll just go through and name everything.
Once the samples have been inputted into the spreadsheet, you can start the sampling process by pressing the Start button in the top right corner of the screen. Samples can take over a day to analyze, so please plan accordingly. It is critical that during this process you check the water levels on the outside of the machine, on the inside of the TOC TN, and in the waste container under the machine. Also keep track of the QA/QCs, ensuring they are within analyte limits provided by the lab manager. When the analysis has been successfully completed, you can export the data, as Sophia will demonstrate here.
Alrighty, so once you're done running your samples and you're ready to take your data off the computer, what you do is you first need to make sure that every single line or sample name has a different unique sample name, as in rinse 1, rinse 2, rinse 3, instead of just calling them all rinse. And this is going to be really important for when we take the data off and are processing it. So luckily Connor has already done this with all of his samples, so we are good to go in that respect. So to take your data off, you go to File, Export, and Detailed. So you want all of the instructions. And then you save it to your USB drive, and then you'll be able to take it to your computer.
To turn off the device, simply click Shut Down and OK. It will take over a day for components in the TOC TN to cool down, so exercise caution. And with that, we end the tutorial on the operation and maintenance of the TOC TN machine. In the next video, we will discuss how to take the data exported from the device and manipulate it in Microsoft Excel.